that's just hard, because that's still in the back of your head. Like you say, having other kids is still like my daughter. She has a bruise. It also triggers me like, oh, that's how Raymond started. She comes up to me, Mom, my bones hurt. Oh my God, we're gonna start again. I hope it's not the same thing. It's just something that just keeps on my mind.
Yeah. No, it definitely does. And we're the same way in that sense. I'm more of a, there's no way it can be that, and I tend to put it out of my mind and put a wall up. But my wife will run right to that diagnosis. So if our daughter has a headache, she's like, "Oh God, it's in two headaches in a row. Oh my, and you're thinking the worst. And it's hard to tell people don't think the worst or don't be a Google doctor. It's hard because you're trying to catch you. It's almost like, and I feel like it maybe, and maybe we're on an island with this, but we feel like we missed it for so long. Even though we knew something was wrong, we didn't know what it was. So now you're trying to catch it ahead of time. And if there is something to catch, you want to be on top of it. And it's not a paranoia. It's that you've become very vigilant to what's going on around you, and you want to make sure that you can ensure that your children are safe and that this doesn't happen again. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But people don't see that stress level that you have every single day. They just believe, well, if everything's good and you're getting good calls or good results and everything, then we shouldn't worry anymore. And unfortunately, that's just not the case.
Yes. I'm a single parent, so it's basically like everything I have to do is just me and them. If I have to run to the hospital with Raymond, it's just my daughter staying with my family members. And now like, it's just like, oh, Mom, I fell and I have a bruise. And that's just like, Rosie, please don't, please don't. So I do check her. I take her or fevers or everything just like that. It's just something that it's never gonna go away. It's always gonna be in the back of our heads. And especially because sometimes as a single parents, we need that support. We need that help, and sometimes we don't have it. So it's like, okay, I have to run to the hospital, but who are you gonna stay with? Who am I gonna drop you off with? Are you gonna be fine? Are you gonna? It's just like that with us. I think it's with us single.
Yeah, I think you have an inherently larger struggle, and to be just that one person, that one caregiver that's doing that, and having other children. That's a lot of people in this community or around this don't understand that whether you're a single parent or you've got two parents in the house, if you've got other children and on top of that a job, and on top of that your everything else you're involved in, your life kind of stops, but at the same time it keeps going. Like your world will continue to move. Just because the cancer diagnosis came in doesn't mean your world stops, and everything still has to be taken care of. And so, when you're a single parent, you don't have someone else that, okay, if I have to run, I know that I've got this taken care of. You've got to reach out, you've got to hope that somebody's available, you've got to have that community of support. And one thing that is hugely lacking, I mean, it's good, but it is hugely lacking, is the people that are willing to support you when the times are good. They want to be there when times are bad and when times are, really, really rough. But when it's good and you just need 10 minutes or you just need a day because you've got an appointment, that's when the support seems to dwindle. When I think that's when we need the support the absolute most, because that's when we're the most worried, to be honest with you. But I think that the reality is, I think that you've done a great job with what you've been able to do on your own, and it should be an example to other people. And this is not a tough, or this is not an easy thing to do at all, whether there's one parent, two parents, or a village taking care of one child. It is a lot of work, and you become the doctor, the caregiver, the nurse. You become, you're the transportation, the cab driver. You become the educator if your child can't go to school. You're also paying the bills, and you're doing all of this while the rest of the world is continuing to move, and you can't make it stop so that you can focus.
Yeah. We also had, like you're saying, like paying the bills. We also had a couple of foundations help us out throughout the way. It's counted because a lot of other foundations did not help us because of our status. A lot of foundations did turn us down because, oh, okay, you don't have a social, we can help you. Who has a social at your house? No, well, just my daughter. Oh, we can help you. And then I did yell at a couple of them too, because I did tell him, I was like, okay, he does not have a social. That's not his fault. It's not his fault. Cancer did not just pick him, and cancer is not just picking. You know what? You have it. You have it. You don't. Okay, you're here. And it just doesn't go like that. And I was like, why are you guys? If you guys are foundations, you guys should be able to help everybody regards their situation. I was like, that's why you guys are foundations, and that's how we're also trying to start our own, because it's Raymond's idea. We did go through a lot, especially like I was saying, I'm a single mother, where I'm always there for my kids, for both, trying to divide myself in two. We also had a loss a year ago, which that also affected us and affected mostly Raymond too. I had lost, I was pregnant. I had lost a baby when I was 6 months and a half. Also, due to abnormalities that he was having, they did tell me that my life was a risk because I was sick, and I was still trying to manage taking Raymond to the hospital, taking Raymond to the clinic, regards my situation. A lot of other nurses at the clinic, they did look at me and they're like, hey, you look totally fine. You don't look like you're going through what you're going through, because they knew my process too. They knew what was going on behind. And I did let them know, you know what, just in case if you guys don't see me, is because this is going on. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. They did tell me my life was a risk because the baby had he had a 3% survival chance, which I had to go through a procedure too, which was really hard because it's something that no parent wanted to go through that. But knowing that my life was a risk, I had to go through that, especially because I'm the only one that's going to be able to watch my kids, treat my kids, not knowing that something's going to happen to them and me being gone. So it was a rough decision, something that I hope no parent has to go through the same thing, especially when they also have another child that has the diagnosis just like Raymond, a cancer diagnosis. And to this day, it still affects me. It's something that I have to probably do it for my safety and for me to be with my kids.
Well, I mean, I think you made a decision and a choice as a mother based on, what you had to do and what responsibilities you had. And I don't think, anybody, I mean, I'm certainly not going to knock you for it, or I don't think anybody should. I think you did what you had to do, and it in a situation during decisions you shouldn't have to make, decisions you should not have to make as a mother or as a parent. And I mean, I can't obviously. I mean, we lost a child, but it was because of her cancer and her treatment. Uh, but any loss of a child is definitely something that a parent should never have to face or make any decisions that uh, affect that in any way. And so it's just a terrible reality that unfortunately too many people in this community face every single day. And there's so much more behind the scenes and so much more that people don't hear and understand because we're too conditioned to look at commercials on TV and think that that's the face of what's going on in this country, in this world, in this community. And it's just not the reality of things. It's just not happy, smiling faces, unfortunately. As great and innocent as and amazing as these kids are, the reality is not happy, smiling faces in the hospital.
They see Raymond now because he has a head full of hair. They see Raymond and my daughter. We'll go to any store, and breast cancer is out there now. My daughter, she'll hear just the word cancer, and she's an innocent little girl. She doesn't know. She'll be like, "Oh, look, 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 Raymond, this is what you have. You have cancer." Typical, their innocence. And then people will
Yeah.
just look at him, and I'm like, "Oh, he doesn't look like he has cancer. He has hair. Is that his hair or that's a wig?" And I tell him, you know what? It's his hair. He doesn't have a wig. That's his hair. So be like, oh, it doesn't look, and they just start judging, like telling me in stores or wherever we're at, oh, it's because you're giving him sodas, or it's because you're not feeding him correctly, or it's because it's too much junk food, and typical the things that they always tell you.
So that is a massive issue and something that I know that I have talked about a ton on social media and which is unsolicited advice. If we didn't ask you for your advice, don't give it. When it comes to what caused our children's cancer, I can tell you that a vast majority, if not almost 100%, has
Shitty luck.
nothing to do with lifestyle. Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing to do with lifestyle. It is shitty luck. It is 100%. There's very few genetic links or mutations or things like that that you can link childhood cancer to. A lot of adult cancers you can link to lifestyle, you can link to choices, things like that. Kids, you cannot. It doesn't make any sense why the kids are chosen. It is any race, any gender, any location, where they went to school, where they grow up, their poverty level. It doesn't matter. It affects everybody, and it does not discriminate. So that unsolicited advice is it's so unnecessary. And another thing that I will say is that cancer does not have a look. There is no if you have hair, if you don't have hair, if you look sick, if you don't look sick. It doesn't have a look. I've told this story 100 times, maybe a million times. Our daughter had 3 brain surgeries inside of 12 days and walked out of the hospital with brain cancer. It didn't have a look. She went back to school. It didn't have a look. When her hair fell out, you associated it then, but it didn't have a look. When her hair grew back, it didn't have a look. It just doesn't. And people, to me, have a serious ignorance when it comes to opening their mouth and putting their foot in when they say things like that, or say things to a parent, or try to tell you it's because of what you did or what you didn't do. You don't know that. And as far as I'm concerned, most people out there that are giving this advice don't have an MD behind their name, or have not physically done the research, or are not part of it. So the unsolicited advice is unnecessary.
Yeah, that's what they told me with Raymond, that maybe it was just because, like, just the drinking sodas, the chips. They look at him now and they were like, "Oh, it doesn't look like he's cancer. Is he fine? Is he doing good? What's the possibilities of him relapsing?" And then someone like, "That's something you guys shouldn't be asking. That's something that should be my worry, not your guys' worry, because you guys are just gonna come and go out of his life. You just guys are, you're not family members. You guys are just random persons."
Yeah. Far too many people on the outside. Listen, we want you to be aware of what's going on, and we want you to help us and spread the word and things like that. But far too many people on the outside I think they want too much information that they're not entitled to, and they feel like they should get it. And that also includes family. To be 100% honest with you, if you're in the hospital or whatever you're going through, and if you get messages or questions of why you're not updating them fast enough, it's not your responsibility, nor they're not entitled to that information. So, what we choose to put out there as parents, or what we choose to put out there as advocates, is really up to us, and you'll get the information that we want you to have.
That's why at the beginning, I didn't want, it's not that it was just like hiding it, but I didn't want nobody to know what was Raymond's condition, because I didn't want to get that word that they always tell you. "Oh, I'm sorry he has this. I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm sorry that he has cancer." No, I didn't want nobody to tell me I am sorry, because you guys are nobody. You guys are just random people just going through our lives and just saying, "Oh, I'm sorry." But then after that, I hear you talking behind my back. I was like, no, I just don't want to. It did took me a while for me to start uploading it on TikTok, and then being an advocate, because I started looking, especially like I started following you, and then I started following Amy, and then a couple of other ones, and I'm like, okay, they're doing them. This is helping me also advocate for my son, and then speak for him, because he was 6 back then. He's 6 years old. He can't speak for himself. I have to be his voice. I have to show people that cancer is not rare. It could happen. He's the first one in my family with this diagnosis too. So it was also new to us. It was just always like in TV's, oh, St. Jude, or there's another foundations that donate for their events, or they're doing this, or the Ronald McDonald House, and then it was just go through my mind, there's kids with cancer. That's all. But now that since we're on this road, we're like, okay, it's an actual thing. I was like, he's the first one also in my family with this diagnosis. It's something that I'd never imagined that I would go through.
Yeah, I think we're all guilty of it, to be honest with you, is that you growing up or whatever and seeing the commercials or hearing the ads or things like that, and you're always just, "That's so terrible. I can't believe it. I don't know how you'd go through that or how you would approach it." And then you become one of those families, and you try to then understand that everything that you've seen or everything you've understood about it is nothing compared to what actually happens. And, to be in the hospital, to be at doctor's appointments, to be rushing around CTs and MRIs, and having your child pumped full of propofol so that they can go to sleep and have procedures done, or lumbar punctures, and have this chemo administered, and you see it all up front and personal, and you're in your mind again thinking, this is nothing like what I was told or what I was shown that it was going to
What we
be
would
like.
watch, yes.
They're not running around, they're not smiling, they're not happy to be here, and it didn't work. And this why is this happening to me, or why, or is there something worse with us because it's not working like you see it in the commercials? And it's frustrating. It really is. And far too many people, I think, will also come into your circle that are not interested in so much as helping or supporting, but they want to be there for what my wife will call the freak show, because once the circus is in town, everybody wants to watch it.
Hmm.
But whether your child passes or whether their treatment ends, then all of
They're
a sudden
gone.
it's not fun anymore.
They're gone. They're not there no more for you. They're just there for the beginning, just to see what's going on. And yeah, like they say, like you're saying, the freak show. After that, it's gone. They're gone too. So that's why at the beginning I was hesitated with that also, because even though he was in a low risk, he still, because of his condition, that it triggered the NF1 and it triggered a couple of chromosomes deletion. I was losing my son, and then I was like, okay, I don't want nobody to find out. I don't want to tell nobody, because if something happens, I don't want to come for them to come up to me and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm sorry. No, I don't want to feel no sorries. Guessing I'm not the only parent that feels like that too. But then I started seeing you guys, and I'm like, okay, then it's my time too. I gotta say something. I gotta speak for my son. And that's when Raymond started saying, you know what, Mom? We've been through a lot. Raymond's those type of boys or kids that if he sees you struggling, he'll drop everything and he'll help you out. If he sees a homeless in the street, if he has pocket change, he'll be like, Mom, look, he's homeless. Let's give him money. Or we're at the store, he'll be like, Mom, let's buy some stuff. Because I always keep an ice chest in my car. I started working now, so I'm in here for 13 hours. So I always try to keep, even though like for them to like, drinks in the car and everything, just keep it cold. He'll be like, Mom, stop. We gotta go get something from the trunk and we'll give them to the homeless. And he's always trying to help people. So now, since we're on this road and we did struggle a lot, because I was saying there's foundations that did help us, there's foundations that didn't help us. So he's like, Mom, you know what? I want to start my own foundation. I want to start helping kids, but not just kids with cancer. He's like, I'm gonna help kids with all types of medical conditions. He's like, because I didn't choose to have cancer, and then he's like, so they're not gonna choose to get sick neither, because we have I have a cousin. He was born the same day, same month, just a year apart from Raymond. He has autism. So he tells me, he's like, Mom, you know what? It's like, I'm gonna help kids not just with cancer, but any type of medical conditions, because we don't know what they're going through. We don't know if they're by themselves with their moms or they're by themselves with their dads. He tries to call it single parent, but he just says like that. So he's like, and that's how I want to start helping people. So that's why he got the idea now of for Halloween to do the baskets and then give them to his oncology, because when we needed the help, nobody was there to help us out. When we needed for to give him a smile, nobody was there. So that's what he's trying to do now. He's trying to, like he said, put a smile on their face when they're going through this hard treatment. He doesn't want them to go through PTSD like he is having PTSD right now, through anxiety, through knowing that they're gonna go to a treatment and they're on their own. He wants to help other kids out, and he's just 8 years old.
It honestly truly is amazing how much these kids are willing to do anything and everything that doesn't involve actually benefiting them in a sense. I mean, it does benefit them by making them happy, but they want to give back so much, no matter what they're
Mhm.
going through. He really is a shining example of what these kids are as humans, that they just want everybody else to be happy. They want to give back during Halloween or Christmas, or they want to donate to their hospitals. or, to be able to say, I want to help other kids because they didn't have this choice. And it couldn't be further from the truth, or it couldn't be more true, because these kids didn't choose to have any of this stuff. They didn't even have the opportunity to make the mistakes that could have even possibly caused these types of issues. And then he wants to ensure that they're going to have a smile, or be taken care of, or be able to share something during a holiday. I think it's incredible. And it goes to show you how genuine and amazing these kids are 100% of the time. No matter how bad their day is, they're always thinking about, how can I make somebody else's day better?
Because I did tell him, I was like, you know what, we could try to do a fundraiser, trying to raise money and give it to the hospital. That was my idea, right? But he told me, he's like, no, you know what, Mom? He's like, we don't know if they're going to use that money for the kids. We don't know where that money is going to go to. He said, like, what about if we do this? And that's when he thought about the baskets, like you're saying, the Christmas gifts too. He's like, we give them out to them. We know it's going to go to them. He's like, but if we do it to the hospital, we don't know if they're going to use it for their floor, or they're going to use it for somebody else, or they're just going to keep the money. And then I told him, I was like, it's up to you. It's your decision. I'm just helping you out. I'm here just to help you. It's your idea. I'm supporting you. So he's like, no, it's like, we're going to go give them baskets and gifts for Christmas. So that's how we started with our foundation. We're barely starting it, so it's just um out here in Cali, there's only about like 2 foundations that they do help you, but it's also I don't want to put them out there, but it's also like selective. It doesn't help everybody out. It's just selective. I see that they get all kinds of help. They get all kinds of benefits and everything, but it's just selective people.
Right. Yeah, and it's a lot of the foundation or organizations. I mean, they are, and a lot of it has to do with the amount of funding or resources that they have. And there's others obviously that are going to be digging deeper into who they decide to help and not help. And one day I hope that we can just eliminate this community altogether, and everybody goes out of business because we found a cure and we don't have to worry about this anymore. But the truth is, we've got a big fight ahead of us with this, and the more organizations or foundations that are personally affected by this and can use their own personal stories to create their mission statement is only going to be a benefit to the future in reducing these numbers and eliminating this altogether. Because when you have people on the inside that can tell you exactly how things are versus people watching from the outside that don't truly have that personal effect, it makes a big difference. It really is. I've said before that I think there's hundreds of thousands of books that are written about how to raise your kids, most of them written by people that don't have kids.
Yes.
But yet, as cancer parents going through this, looking at it, saying, okay, we created a foundation. Why? Because we're personally affected by our daughter, and you're personally affected with your son. And you create foundations that can center around your own struggle, but also your path forward. It's that much more personable, and I think it'll be an incredible thing. And when you have CEOs like Raymond who are going to take over this space and make a big difference because it makes them feel good, that's the best payment that you'll ever receive.
And then I noticed that the foundations that help you the most is the smallest foundations than the bigger foundations. Which should be the other way around. It should be the ones that they help you most. It should be the bigger ones than the smallest ones. Because they receive
So the
profits, they receive donations, they receive the most than small foundations, local foundations.
Yep. No, it's exactly what it is. I mean, you have the larger foundations, or they are able to receive the more donations and more money coming in, and it seems to be spread less, but it seems to be then working on essentially paying for the CEOs and for the people within the foundation, whereas smaller organizations like ours, there's no salaries, there's no money. That all the money that we bring in goes right back into the business. And so we are able to take 100% of those profits and put them back into helping in any way that we can, whether it's donations to research or whether it's care packages or things like that. And unfortunately, some of the bigger organizations they got to pay their workers and they got to pay their overhead, and that takes away from the help that they can provide. And it's a shame that it's kind of upside down from where it should be. But for now, that's kind of where we are, and we're okay being not so big and being able to make a big impact. And I think that you guys will feel it too, to be able to be kind of smaller, run it out of your house, and people still recognize you or recognize your name and recognize what you were able to do.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get known, but also Raymond in the future tell his own story from his side. I could say my side from my story from my side as a parent, but he says it from his side and how he started everything, why he started like the nonprofit that he's gonna try to start, but also get known. It's difficult too because we don't know a lot of people. We don't talk to people. The only people that we talk through is through TikTok, which is you guys and Amy and Sarah and a couple other ones. But other than that, like local people, we don't have communication with nobody.
And honestly, I will say that local support for your story or your organization is actually, I think, a lot harder to gain than support from across the country through social media and our website and things like that or whatever. I think it's easier to gain that than it is the people that are right in your backyard, which is again kind of upside down from where it should be. But I would say 100% when it comes to that. It doesn't sound like you guys are at all, but don't ever be discouraged by the lack of local support, because there's plenty of people around the country that will continue to see your story and hear it and will want to be there to support you. And I know that just within our circle and our small circle or big circle, however you want to characterize it, when it comes to social media, our support is always going to be there, and anything that we can do to help, we're always willing to do. And we work together, and that's how we make the biggest impact, is becoming a global push instead of just a local push.
Yeah, everything starts small. From there, it starts getting known of. So that's why we're trying to push it too, through TikTok and through other social medias. It's been hard because well, all we went through and what we're still going through, because it's something that never ends. But that's like our main goal before the end of the year, is to get known. Like for certain things, we cannot make it a 501 yet, but 50, yeah, I think that's what it's called. But we're working on that too, because a lot of people do help you when it's registered than when it's not registered.
Right.
And that's what I noticed too. But they should always know that there's something always behind that sometimes we cannot make it registered because there's always a story behind.
Yep. There's definitely a I don't know if you want to call it a status, but there's definitely a status above when you have the 501c3 versus not having it at all. And I think it's just a matter of people say it looks legit versus it may be, but I can't write that off on my taxes type thing. And it's a shame to put it like that, but it is that way in some measures. But the reality of it is, we didn't have that status for about 6 months running it, and we did it simple for that matter of being able to say, okay, if you donate, you know that your money is going to an official, 501c3, and you can write that off if you want to. And, you'll get there. You keep pushing forward, and as long as you've got the drive and he's got the drive, you'll get there. But it's not to say that you can't do things just because you don't have it. There's plenty of people that put on events and things like that don't have that connection and still do really well. So I think it's something that you want to attain, but it won't slow you down as long as you have a mission, and it sounds like you do.
Yeah, so that's what I told Raymond. I was like, don't think nothing else. Don't let nothing put you down. We're gonna start. We already started. We're gonna keep on going. We can't stop and look back. You wanna do this? We're gonna keep on doing. I'm supporting you on whatever you wanna do. I'm always gonna be here regardless, and let's keep on going. I was like, and you'll see that one day you're gonna look back and say, we did it. We made it. We're known. We're helping other people, and not just in our city. We're helping people in other states.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely look forward to hearing more about it and having it, really take off and be something that we can talk about and we can share, and we can direct people that way, because that's what I love to do, is to see other families and other children, creating these organizations and creating these foundations, because they feel like they want to give back, and it's so incredible to watch it happen. So I look forward to seeing it, and I know you guys are going to do great. And it doesn't sound like he has any quit in him, so it's going to be great. I know it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So I usually like to ask when we get towards the end of an episode or anything like that, I like to ask as a parent, as a mother, as an advocate for your child, as all of the things that we laid out before, the caregiver, the doctor, the transportation specialist, we'll say that. What advice would you give to parents that are not only going through this right now, but also are going to be diagnosed in the future? What advice would you give to them?
What's a good thing? For like me, just listen to your instincts. It's always a good thing. Don't let nobody tell you nothing else. If you know something's going on and they tell you otherwise, just keep on listening, keep on doing something for your kids. Because that's how it got me with getting Raymond's diagnosis in the early stage, because I listened to my mother instinct and I just fought. I kept on fighting and telling them there's something going on. They did try to tell me, go home. Everything's fine. I didn't let them say otherwise. I just kept on fighting for my son. And for other parents that are going through the same thing, or they're going to start going through the same thing, they don't know that they're new also to this with their kids with getting diagnosed, or for the parents that are also hearing this and they're going to hear this and they don't know if they could go through this or not, just keep on fighting. Don't let nobody put you down, nobody talk you down, nobody tell you that you did something wrong, because you didn't. It's just shitty luck that the kids have. Just keep on fighting. And whatever you're going through, everything's gonna be fine. Roads are gonna be up and down, but everything is gonna be perfectly fine. I know it's hard to say it, but just one step at a time. It may look like it's never gonna end, but it ends. And when you reach the finish line of the first phase, which is them ringing the bell, because that's what we call the first phase, because then the second one comes, and that's when we don't know what's going to happen. It's just that you're going to feel a little bit better. Not 100%, because you're never going to feel 100% better, but you're going to feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it's all excellent advice, and I think that we as parents now, foreseeing it, from the beginning, symptoms to diagnosis to treatments, to bell ringing to all of that, we see it from the inside, and really the best advice that we can give is just to not quit and not stop and never take your instincts for granted, because if you feel like something's wrong, you definitely have got to stand up and say something, because you are your child's best advocate. You are their voice when they can't speak up, and you are their ability to really fight this. And so, never take that for granted. Never give up that status as their best chance at making a recovery from this. So definitely do that.
Yes, because like I tell Raymond, like we tell each other, first phase is done, almost. We have to reach the second phase, see what second phase brings us, because it's something that never ends. And it's, although he finished like the second phase that we call it, which is those 5 years, we don't know after those 5 years what could bring us to. So it's something that it's always going to be in the back of our heads. It's something that just a fall or just a bruise or a nose bleeding, a headache, it's something that's just going to trigger back that memory that we went through of, okay, maybe it came back, maybe it's just a normal flu, or we don't know. So it's something that just keep on fighting. It's something that's always going to be there in the back of our heads, but we got to be an advocate for our own kids.
And you never want to walk away from that. You want to understand that you are their best chance. So never stop giving that fight to them. Never stop ensuring that you have the right team. Never be afraid to say to a doctor, nurse, or caregiver that you want another opinion, or you want somebody else in the room. You are in control, and you need to remember that you're always in control. But from there, is there anything else that you would like to share about Raymond, about his story that maybe we didn't cover? I know we covered a lot. Is there anything else you'd like to share about him?
No, I think that's all for now.
Okay. All right. Well, it was definitely a pleasure to talk to you, and Raymond sounds amazing, and it sounds like he has just the same genuine and kind heart that all of these kids do. And I wish that we had that injected to every single person on this planet, no matter where you are, because we are missing that in this world, is that kind and genuine heart. And if we do not continue to do something and make changes, we will not have those kind of genuine hearts here. And we need to save them, and we need to make sure that we're fighting for them every single day. So once again, it was a pleasure to talk to you today, and I thank you for reaching out so that we could share his story, share your story as well, because as a parent, you are important in this fight, and you are a key factor in making sure that we get to talk about him, and we get to talk about what he's done and how far he's come, and getting to the next phase. So I'm glad to hear that he is doing well, getting close to this bell ringing, and we will be excited to hear and see what you guys do next.
Thank you.
It is my pleasure. And so I want to say thank you again, and everybody else. We will see you next week.
Bye.